Okay. Hi everyone. What is it today? It's Monday, 20th of February, 2017. Weekly webinar. So, where do we start? Updates. As good a place as any. Hopefully everyone get your questions ready and so on and so forth. But I'll give you a quick update on the templates. Just released, in fact I was just doing it then, the property grid 3.57 is now available for download. That has the options that we spoke about. Let me just quickly open Clarion to show you. Probably will pinch a test system. It's a new where you can load the property grid from a variable or from a file and so on. So might as well just spend a few minutes just quickly covering these. Property grid, table loaded. Plus, of course, it also has the enhancement that John requested, which is so you can click to highlight the content as you're editing, so as you're tabbing through or as you're clicking through in edit mode. We won't bore you because we've covered it a couple of times, but just to show you the new changes, I've said on this particular example, I want a property grid. We set the data source to a mixture of file and variables. I've got particular categories. And in this, I've specified the items. So these are just fields from the actual table. And what I've also added now is the ability for you to tag buttons onto them as well. So you can see on the company name, I've just added a couple of dummy buttons. So we can see basically should we need to do anything on that particular item. Likewise, if you was to say, okay, I want a whole file. So on this, I've said it's a file, it's a customer file. Your exclusions are listed there, but we haven't got any. And then on the buttons of that, you can say, okay, on that field, I want a button called lookup, and then you set your actual attributes of that button. So to see that in action, so that was contact name and test you long. So this is the example which I've been playing about with. If I just change this one, and they're terrible icons, but it was just a test that I can see button insert and you press the insert button. So I've purposely got two messages in here, and I'll show you for why in a second. Likewise, if we go into the all, I think we had one on the contact name, and yes we have, and there it is. And if we went down to test you long, and we've got one on the you long as well. So that works quite well. To help to detect, historically within the template, you used to just have a single embed point of item accepted, and you could put a message under the code point there, like so. So it would receive a param ID. That's been expanded now. Same with item selected. That's been expanded to receive the ID of the item that's been accepted and the value of it, but also the Clarion value. And the reason for that is, say, hypothetically, it's a date or a time, then the date would be presented in whatever particular format you've given it, but the Clarion date would be returned as the true Clarion date. Same with the time. So now you've got an extra parameter coming back to you there. And you've also got the generated embed points. So it will actually list all the actual things, all the items that are going to appear in the property grid. The same can be said for the item selected. That's also had the same, so you can see selected. And while I was at it, I also did the in-place buttons. So we've got one overall button, which you saw a second ago, but you've also got the generated embed points for individual buttons. So that's the major update to that particular template. As we said, we also put in the option under the appearance to select all item content when editing. So that was a new one that John wanted. And one extra option we've done now is I've just added default. Basically, set the date format at the overall level and a time format. And when you're actually introducing the new items, I've introduced an item type as well. The CodeJock control doesn't actually support the item type, but I think it's an omission. So now we do. So to show you that, I'll just show it on the normal example. We can see on this where we've got all items, and I just introduced a time item. So yes, you can prefix it like you've always been able to. Got the interface, and you've got the time format that will be picked up. So I want that to be in hours and minutes with a colon in between. That's really it. I can see I've got a question. I haven't seen the question actually, but I've got a hand up. So let's just see Roberto. Hi Roberto. I haven't seen the question yet. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm just trying to keep you busy. No, I really like that you got embeds in there and so on for each one of them. That's really cool.
Just makes it easier, and
oh yeah, man, that's awesome.
So yeah, it's of course it's in all of them as well, so we can see item accepted. They're all the generated ones from the template. So regardless of, unless you've manually just populated your own queue, well, of course the template would never know what you've placed in the queue. Then you would have to use the overall embed point, the code. Mm-hmm. But except for that, no, if the template knows of it, we're going to start putting that in, and that's going to go in all the products. The command bar's said it for a while, but next the task panel and docking panes and all of them are going to have this. It just makes more sense.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
So
I had a question there on your property grid.
Yep.
Are they always left justified?
No. Oh, no. Here's the thing. Let's just run the example.
Yeah, it moves it to the right.
Yeah, these properties are picked.
You edit it, but it's all left. Right.
Yeah, basically, let's just put some. Oh, yeah. Let me take that message out because that's just going to bug us. That's a very rough and ready application that I've just been obviously playing about with to make sure it all works. So yeah, let's take that out. I don't think we quite need that. Expect one on company name, but that's because I've purposely left it in. So I'll just go through here. I expect to get a message there before, after, and yes. And yeah, these are strings. The justification is picked up off the dictionary, and I'm sure, like the balance there, that goes off, but then it displays it to the left.
Right.
That's.
I was wondering if that's just a functionality of the property grid that it won't align to the right.
It is, but it's not one which I particularly like, to be honest. Whether it's because of in-place buttons, because buttons will always go to the right, and so on, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's not.
So everything's always left aligned.
Yeah, when in view mode, but when you edit, it will pick up.
Right. When you edit, yeah, it'll move it, but it's just kind of weird.
Yes, agreed. So, but unfortunately, that's how it is as well. But yeah, but never mind. But that's that. So hopefully, people will you'll make good use of that.
And Andy.
Yeah.
Quick question on when you're going from field to field, are you using the tab or can you use enter to go from field to field?
I know you can do tab, obviously, because there's a setting for that. No, enter doesn't. What are you thinking? Because I know, obviously, Clarion has the enter equals tab.
Yeah, I'm thinking that would be that would be nice.
Yeah, it would keep it in line with the rest of. If we are going to allow users, the idea is to replace some of your existing forms, and chances are you've probably got the enter equals tab turned on.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was pretty happy with my update, but evidently, no.
It's the John challenge of the day.
It is. But I don't think that's going to be too hard to do, because I think we'd be able to trap that. It's the only thing you would have is we can do that. Now, me tabbing off it is going to do the item accepted. Me clicking away from it is also going to do the item accepted. So I just need to check, was the last keystroke an enter key? Oh, well, we'll go through questions, we'll go through updates and questions and so on. And I know somebody's asked for some some pointers in the getting started, which we've not covered for a long time, so I'm going to go through them. And then I suppose we can make a start on John's weekly challenge. It's a bit like the recap at the start of the Friday one. This is John's weekly challenge. So, but yeah, we can have a look at that. We can have a look at that.
I got some stuff on the reminders still. But whenever you get to the calendars.
Okay, well, basically, that's the update to the property grid. That's available for downloading now. So just done it on the website, and I've still got to do the social media posts and so on, but the download is available. So that's good to go. The syntax editor, a fault had been reported by Dave Brashovich that if you quickly scrolled, and he posted a video to be fair as well, if you quickly scrolled, then you could get a screen corruption. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't recreate it. He could, and he also suggested a very simple fix. So that fix has gone in, but I've released it blind, if you will, because I couldn't see the fault in the first place. Now, whether it's down to graphics card or whatever, but at least the fix was only a display command. It's not upset anything. So, and it did fix it on his. So that's been released. Oh yeah, sorry, David just said. Sorry, just let me rewind back to property grid, because it was David who wanted to do stuff. Hi, David. Sorry about that. Forgot to open the mic. I think I put him on the spot. I don't know if you're there.
There you are.
Hi. Yes.
Hey. Yeah, no, it looks good.
Yes, by all means, put it through its paces.
I know.
It's stood up to everything I think is right. I've checked the date formats and so on, and tried to make it easier for getting the information out of dates. That's why we've got this new third parameter of Clarion value and the time. So
yeah, that's a good idea, because otherwise you have to deal with it.
Yeah, so you can see on this one I've got the timers, including the seconds and so on. So, and the dictionary, evidently the dictionary must be set that way. So if I do 12:45, that's great. Yep, that's that. Let's make sure when I go back in it actually is 12:45. Yep, 12:45. Because I saw the 11:30, then I panicked. Yep, there's 12:45. So yes, basically, it's they stored as standard Clarion values, but they're painted accordingly. So it is just put it through its paces. Hopefully, it picks up as much information out the the dictionary as possible. So these are validation items in the dictionary, and they're all here accordingly. Told to paint. That's good. So yeah, give it a go.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Yep, thanks, Andy.
No problems. So the syntax editor, that's been released, and that's 3.56, and that's on general release. So that was really just a display command. That's in there, and then the command bars. Now I still went back to it was Michael who wanted to do with the help. At the moment, I've got it so the standard help can be defined. You've got 4 different types of standard help. You can do help, help index, help on help, and help search. Just so that we can get something out for now, I've just released a minor update, a very minor update. The method calls are in there. The template allows you to specify standard help and so on. So you can start to use it, but I would only use the help and not the help index and so on for now. Not until I can get to the find a way of actually doing it. I did have an idea, but it would have been rushed to get into today's webinar. But I did want to get, I know it's holding him up, so I wanted to get that out. So, Michael, if you just open the mic, see if you're there. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Andrew.
Hi, sorry to put you on the spot there. Yes, the update 3.56 is available for you to download. You can you can define the standard item to be help, help index, help on help, or help search. So you've got 4 new ones and 4 new methods for those commands as well. Those actions, sorry. So you can start to do those, and I will continue. It won't be this afternoon. It'll be tomorrow morning. Now I'll continue, and I'll find the way of calling the actual index and so on and so forth. So you can start putting them in, and then I'll pass you another minor update to make sure that the index works. But the worst, what will happen at the moment, is the help will just open regular. So at least you can get to the help. That's the main thing.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Okay, and then that's it for released templates. The one which is in progress is the dismissing of the reminder, and it is going to be a new method call. Sorry, a new method embed point to tell you when an occurrence, I was going to say occasion, when an occurrence has been dismissed. So, Roberto, do you have anything else on the calendar? Because I know obviously you're putting that through its paces, and I know Michael's waiting for that one as well. So it's literally in progress. It's just not met it today, that's all.
Yes, I have some questions on the calendar, on the reminder.
Okay, fire away.
Specifically, I tried. I'm trying to get my head straight on how to program it, anyways, because I load up the events, and obviously it's loading up to the internal CodeJock calendar. Okay.
Yep.
What happens if I have 2 users or 3 accessing the same executable, and I add an event in the calendar? Only that one user will know about that event, unless I make the other users update.
Well, we have the same scenario in our software, because the practice management software, you've got different surgeries. It's for dental practices now. Different surgeries. You might have 3 or 4 different surgeries, all working with the appointment book, or maybe an in-practice list, which can be built from obviously the appointment book. And yes, basically, people will be changing them all the time. All you can really do, I know there's a couple of methods. You could send some kind of notification around the network. Now, I know NetTalk does that. I think he's done it for a long time. So you could act upon something like that. Or we just we give them a refresh button and a timer, so they can set the timer interval to as frequent as they like. And they're normally, to be fair, they're normally.
That's if you're watching the calendar, for example. But I have it on the frames, and the reminders are supposed to pop up. And if they add something like, come for donuts in 10 minutes, they're not going to see that message.
Not unless it's reloaded. Well, the same applies. If it was a visual calendar, so somebody physically looking at it, maybe on one of the reception computers and so on, or whether it's on the app frame, you're still going to need to be notified that somebody on the network has gone and changed or inserted or deleted a calendar event. So it's really down to how you want to force those updates around your application. Now you could do it, like I say, do it on a simple timer. and just have in that scenario, if you're having it maybe in a procedure and on the app frame, I think we covered it a few weeks ago where I would pass the calendar class into a source procedure. That's exactly what I do in one of my apps, and I'll happily show it you here now. I have a source procedure. I pass it the calendar class. That does all the loading. I pass it some parameters because it needs to know whether it's where it's coming from, and it loads into the passed-in class for the set criteria. So it's one central thing that gives you the ability, like say, you can call it off the app frame on a timer or on some kind of network notification, be it NetTalk and so on.
Right, but would only one of the exes access that event if it's a notification, or would all of the executables?
No, I think all of them do, don't they? Yeah. I have used it actually. I tell a lie. I used it a long time ago.
Or how do you notify each one of the executables? Like,
I think it's one of the functions of NetTalk, where you can do a broadcast across the TCP/IP, and then basically on the terminals you listen for the TCP/IP and you adjust that accordingly on it. So you send it like messages across your LAN, so it'll just receive okay. I need to do, and it's an action, so I need to refresh or I need to close down because someone's shutting the server down, that type of thing.
Well, in this case, it's the same app. It's the same server because they're all RDPing into it. So there would just be instances of the exe.
Oh, okay.
Loaded up on the same server because each one has an RDP session.
Right.
So it's not a server thing.
No,
it would be a notify on each one of the executables that have that application open. However, it might not even be that because each executable could be looking at a different folder also because of the users that are entering it. So I don't even know how I would distinguish which executable belongs to my group of people.
What about a timer then? Like I said, it's crude, but it's exactly what we've done in our software. And we, because each user has a user profile, you can say they can set their own preferences. So they can set the calendar to be, I want it in 5-minute blocks, 15-minute blocks, I want it in week view, day view, that type of thing. But one of them is, I want my calendar to refresh every, the average is about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know how the timer works.
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, it does work in practice.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's old-fashioned and crude.
And reload the events every once in a while. Or
well,
whatever.
you just call the... there's a method. Let's just open it up and show you.
Uh-huh. Now, what I did was I went in there and I cleared the events. I deleted all the events.
Well, you should just be able to call the reload.
Back up.
Refresh content, sorry. If you just call refresh content with a true, refresh contents with a true, then it will basically do the full tidying up for you, and you can, the true is a force.
Right, but that's just refreshing the events. It's not really loading up new events.
Yeah. There's the actual method itself. So you pass it a force. Now, file load. First thing it does is call file load records. Now, normally, to keep things efficient, let's bring up a calendar. This would be better. So we'll shut this down and let's just bring up a calendar.
Well, the one I have is just a routine where I do my file load records.
Okay. 2 seconds. I'll just prep up.
And when I did that, I got 2 of them. I got twice as many events in my calendar. And so the reminders were doubled up and things like that. So I had to go in there and clear them out first.
No problem. Let's just bring in. Let's see if we can help you. I think we can. Okay. Now, the file load events does receive a couple of dates. And if you remember rightly, a few weeks ago on the webinar, we mentioned which dates it can receive. So let's just compile this to have a look. The thing you would want, the first thing you would want in your load is to do a delete all events.
Mm-hmm.
That's always good practice.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
But when I went in there and loaded them up again, well, I can show you if you want to share my screen.
Well, we can. We'll just try and emulate here, but basically, yeah, we've got this date. It's probably loading on 2024, so it's loading on there by the looks of it. So it's going to load on the selected dates. So as we go through be it via the date picker or the calendar, it's going to go and reload accordingly. So if we was to put some debug in there.
Yeah, I really don't mind reloading them because I'm only grabbing the ones that have reminder on them.
Yeah, but in the file,
because that's all I need exactly, in reality. So there are not that many of them. There could be 4, 10. It does it really fast, anyways.
Okay, the force of the refresh content basically gets passed through to the file load records, and in the file load records, I bet it's not. I bet I'm not doing it in here. No, should be able to show you my app. But basically, I will do.
Exactly. That's what I have. I have this loop.
Okay, I tell you what. Let me open up an app. Show you one of the apps. Just 1 second. Okay.
So I'm doing my own loop also. You're talking about letting the template load the records then?
No. Just won't be a sec. Just bring it up. Make latest. That'll do. That was a lot more than I expected, but okay. I'll show you how I do it in one of mine, which hopefully will help. So what I mentioned a minute ago, where I pass I have a little source routine, so it's on the app frame. It's all over.
Mm-hmm. So when you have like on the app frame and also on a calendar, like a window with a calendar using the same class, is it using the same scope or are they
No.
scopes?
They're separate classes, but I just have one routine.
Even if they have the same name?
Yeah, it's fine.
So they're different scopes.
Well, let's see to see it in action. Yes, different scopes. So to see it in action.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
that's what I figured out.
Because
I thought maybe if it used the same class name, it would use the same scope on it, and so it would use a different the same queue, but it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, there is a calendar. I've got it in. I'm using it in trap bar view, but there is a calendar driving all of this. The date picker is attached to the calendar, and so on. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's hidden away, but there is a calendar driving that. Now, if I was to go insert the same class, the same source procedure, which is just loaded data for this. So let's just say, let's rewind a second. Let's say that is scheduler class. It's a calendar class, but it's called scheduler. Okay. Now on here, I've got a live view of the calendar, so I can say, okay, I'm going to book an appointment in for, I don't know, just test. And I can look live at the calendar. Now that's a single view calendar. If I wanted to see it, if it was clashing with anybody, but that's calling the same source procedure. I'm just passing a different class in, and it's loading a very small set of data. So it's just loading just on that day only. Whereas this is loading. Well, if I click to 2, then it'd be loading a greater date range, that type of thing.
Mhm.
And you can do the same off the app frame. Now, to accomplish that, I have just looking for. Not even open the app. There's the actual. Let's just go into the resource so we can see here. It calls a thing called lib load events. The load events that looked like it was wrong actually. Let me copy the lib in 1 second. So this load events receives in long. I thought that was it. It receives calendar class or the address of the calendar class, if you will.
Mhm.
Start date and end date. Do I need to filter for a particular resource? And there's an extra thing regarding intervals, but forget that. Okay. And what I do is I have a local class, LV calendar. Probably defined it just in code. LV calendar takes on the actual passed in class, and then all the class methods are just from that. So delete all events. Forget that. You could do that one thing above. It helps speed a little, but I wouldn't panic about that. The main things you're interested in is delete all the events. Then I load in two passes. I load in the non-recurring events. Then I load in the recurring events. Last thing I do is just call the normal population redraw. But that is called from everywhere. So it's on the app frame, it's on the scheduler, it's in the appointment book, it's in the update form, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And of course, you can use that same approach not just with the calendar, with any of the Noyantis classes.
All right. What I was getting when I did the delete all the events and loaded them back up, the reminder would not put anything on the field where it says how many hours have passed. It would be blank. Have you had any kind of experience on that?
No. I wouldn't expect that. Yeah, if we can have let's take a quick look. There's been no reason why you should get
And I
that.
found a workaround, but let me show you why.
Yeah.
It was
Let's just make presenter. There you go. Let's pass it to you.
okay. Let's see. That's not the right app. Let me show you. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if this is the correct app. Yeah, this is the one that was working. And so, what I did, when I called my calendar, where is it? Reminder. Yeah, check this out. I go and delete all the events,
Okay.
and then I load my events.
Okay.
Okay?
And that is
Because if I
which
just
embed
loaded
point is
them
that?
up again, they would double up. Excuse me?
Is that just under condition? Is that under a button or something?
That's under it loaded. What I did is that in order for my frame to update, when I called the calendar, I have a little calendar where you can add the events and so on, and it comes back. Then I would refresh all the events on that frame. That was just my idea of getting it to refresh in case they did any kind of changes, updates or inserts or whatever. So
Yeah.
it'll just go in there and reload them, which they're not very many. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 of them. I mean, there's not that many. And it was really weird because the first time that it loads all the events, it works right. But when I delete them all and put them back in there this way, I don't get the time on the reminder screen.
Wow. I mean, I'll have to try it here. There's no reason why I shouldn't.
Here's okay.
Yep.
So I get all my 1 week due in, 1 week, 2 days, so blah blah blah. Okay.
Okay.
So if I go into my calendar and I do any kind of changes or not any changes and I just exit, it'll go in there and delete all the events and load them back up again. See? But see how it's all blank? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I missing? So I went in there and I traced it and see if my date was okay and my ending date was, and they were all okay. And it adds them all okay. But for some reason, there's something in the template settings. My workaround was this. I tried populate, I tried everything. But I added this, and somewhere in your template settings that you have, there's something that's being turned on or off, or maybe it's turned off afterwards,
Okay.
so that I have to reset them. And so I just do that, and that'll make it work.
Okay, let's just have a quick look here.
Something is being turned off somewhere. And so if I just re-init the template settings before loading the events, see, there they are.
Yep.
I load up the reminder and I close it, and then there they are again, right? So there's something in there that you seem to turn off afterwards, that if I reset them again, they're on there again. And that's one question. I made a little workaround that way, but I wonder what is that's triggering it to not appear. But the other one is when I
can you do a
click
show
button
day?
here,
Just in case, no. When you go back in, okay, so let's take out the init template settings.
Okay.
And then after the load events,
Mm-hmm.
do the calendar pro dot show day, and then today as a parameter.
Come on. Like that?
Yeah, let's just try that.
Okay, from the init, it always works. But when I do the go in, go back out,
No. Okay.
all blank.
I'll try it here.
So
Have a look. It's got to be something in
somewhere in the init template settings, here, you must something gets turned off, and I don't know what it is.
Not between. No, well, what does load events? What's your routine doing load events?
It's really simple load event stuff. File. Oh, it's up here. Where are you? Where'd you go? Sync procedure. There you go. That's all it does. So I go into my events file and I set it and just loop it, looking for anything that loads up, and they're there.
Yeah, very
The
simple.
dates are okay. It's the same one that it uses
Okay.
when you load up at the beginning. I mean, I'm just recalling it. I'm just closing them out.
Okay,
Like
so let's just go back to the other again where we had it.
So if I go to the init template settings, if I turn that on,
Well, no, just there. Before, let's do the show day before the load events,
okay.
and also, although it shouldn't make much difference.
Okay.
Read. No, got timescales. See, this is crazy. It's got to be something about the thing, but okay, let's just try that.
Just that?
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else which would really throw it.
Yeah, and once I set I don't know which line it is in the init events in the template settings, because you've got a whole bunch of them there. I haven't really gone one by one, see if there's anyone that triggers it, but obviously one of them triggers it. That one works. Go into the calendar, exit, blank.
Okay. I shall take a look. First of all, I'll have to try and recreate it, but I'm sure it does.
Yeah. And so my workaround was to just add the init template settings on it, and it resets everything, or at least one of the variables that I'm needing here. I don't know which one it is. It's just you've got like 30 settings on there.
Yeah, that's quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't, I'm like, okay, I found a workaround, but that's one of them. And the other was this. Since that's a reminder screen that pops up from the CodeJock,
Yep, from the control.
Yeah.
Yep.
How often does this appear? You can dismiss the stuff, or you can snooze them, and it works. If I snooze them, it'll pop up back. But if I close it, it won't pop up back up. Is there any way to tweak that so that I can say, okay, if I just closed it that way, after 15 minutes, pop it up again? I think it takes 4 hours before it'll pop up again.
I wouldn't have expected that. I'd have expected it to do it the next time one was due.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Regardless of you hitting the close in the top right, I wouldn't have expected it to act in that manner. I presume it would. Let's say you've got something triggering in a minute's time. I'd expect that window to open back up in a minute's time.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't. I don't know.
Let's just try that on. I'll try that on mine with a reminder.
Okay.
So just going to bring it back. Yeah, just going to come back.
Okay. I'll send it back to you then.
Okay, so I'm just...
And is there any way to tweak that? It's because you got a whole bunch of old reminders that you might want to retell them again if they just closed it.
I don't know that. I haven't seen that.
I looked in the documentation, but I didn't find anything about it. I thought maybe you would know.
Nothing's
Or
jumped out at me.
is there a way to turn off the X button?
No.
Trying to find workarounds on this,
Okay, so let's have a look. Test at, and we'll have 1648. Not sure we'll quite make this one. Or we might just edge of it. So test at 49 with a reminder. 2 minutes before. No, 1 minute before now. Of course, it would be good if I actually put the timing correctly.
Yeah, no morning thing.
Now let's just do test at 16:55. Another one. Okay. Well, go back in. Got that. I'm going to close it. And yeah, I'd expect it to open back up, which is just what it's done.
Right, if you've got a reminder, but it won't do it if you've got older reminders on there.
Ah, but I thought you said if you closed it, you didn't get any at all. I was going to say you should get.
Well, you do, but you will get it till the next reminder is needed.
Oh, sorry.
Right,
so they're all old.
They're all old, but I want to remind them again at a certain specified time. Like, how would I do that? I guess what I could do is I could go in there and delete all the reminders and come back in, and it'll pop it up again.
Well, you can just call the show reminders, which would just open that window. But it'd be up to you to control that within your own settings of how you wanted to. So basically, if I close that now, me pressing that button will just go and reopen it again.
Okay.
So, but whatever frequency or it's that, and there's our other reminder, which is perfect. Right, thank you. But whatever frequency you wanted to set that to and so on, would really down to your own application. But again, you could put that on maybe like a user preference, show you every 2 hours and that kind of thing.
Or I could put it on the timer,
Well, you probably have to incorporate it on the timer to know if you've gone past a certain amount of time since you last shown it. But that's how you could do it. You just basically, have a look at the last time you it triggered, and don't forget it would be you've got. If they're all passed, then brilliant. You could just store that in a local variable or on their record that it was last shown to them at 1650. So it's every 10 minutes. Then you're not going to show it until 1700.
Actually, what I could do is I could put a little icon, like on the corner. If it has reminders on there, and I just click the X button, I could have something there. So you've got reminders available or whatever. I could go click on that, and if it doesn't have any, it'd be a different icon, maybe blank or whatever. And you could always click on it. So I could put that on the bar, and so on.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. Yeah.
So, and if you wanted, so let's say hypothetically you're going to do it every 10 minutes. So 1650, 1700, 1710, so on.
If they close it, I can always, it's their problem. They can always click on it again.
Okay.
Unless a reminder comes up,
You might want to, obviously, if you're putting it up, you can control the last time it was shown because you're going to call it. But if it was going to trigger by itself, then you'd want to chop this embed point as well. And it's something like reminder. Can't see where it is now. event reminder, and that would trigger. So you could put your code in there. So there'd be two places. One would be if you was causing the reminder to go and show back up again because they'd not seen it for 10 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours or whatever, then you would update your last time there. Equally, if an event was going to trigger, say at 17:53, then that embed point would occur. That would trigger. So you could update your last time there. So it's just the both ways.
Right. Right.
Okay.
This event triggers whenever the event reminder screen pops up.
It does, yeah. Yeah.
Whether
It will
you
tell
clicked on it, whether you told it to open up, or whether it appeared by itself.
I
Because
think
of the
this
event.
is just. Is it if you do it by itself? I'll tell you what. Let's just try it. Put a message in so we see. Message, event reminder. So
if you click your event reminder button.
of course, would be better if I actually went to the example.
All right.
Okay. So no reminder is triggered there. They're both overdue. If I call that, no, it doesn't. Now I'm just going to change one of those and drag it a little later. Not that late though. So I think it was just a new one. So let's say 55.
So it'll only appear when an event is actually triggered.
Didn't come up at all.
No. It's not going through it.
Better look at that because that's the whole point of having that in there.
Is that after parent call? Yeah, it should work, right? Oh, is that the correct? Is that?
Yeah, when something is triggered, that should tell you, because it also tells you what it was what actually triggered.
Right. But is that the right procedure?
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's been a long day. Okay.
I guess so.
You remember, it's in the afternoon over here.
I know. It's early here, so.
At least one of us is there. Okay. Event reminder.
There you go. That'll work better.
Could do with editing that out before we post the video. Oh, no on that.
So it doesn't go through that code.
We'll make sure this is the right procedure. I think it is. I'm sure it is. But
Reminders, calendar reminder events. Should be.
oh. Calendar reminders with the button. So yeah, there should be no reason why that isn't.
That's it.
Okay, I will check that. But yes, basically that would be you. There should be the other embed point where you would you'd track what's occurred.
If it worked.
That's thrown me that. Okay. Moving on then. Now, Paul, Although I'm not sure Paul's left, but I did promise.
I think
Oh,
David
no,
had a question there. David Patterson.
no, that was regarding the property grid. Yeah, no, I spoke to David. We opened the mic up before. Because it was John had asked for selecting the text when you go onto the item, and David was saying about the idea of being able to basically quickly populate a property grid from a file and so on. So,
Okay. Well, you didn't turn off this question. I guess that's why it's on there.
Oh.
Just put a period on it or something.
Okay. So, okay, now moving on. Paul, I'm going to see if we've got. He's already said he's got bad microphone, so let's have a look. Hi, Paul, can you hear us?
Yes, hi Andy, how are you?
Yes, fine, thank you. Yourself?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Now this is regarding the sliders, but it's really it's not just a slider itself. It's a getting started on basically
Any control, basically. I have something set up wrong in my application where I'm trying to add a slider to just a form, very simple procedure, and I can compare and match all the values that you have in your example app to what's in my application, and they all look the same to me, but the slider doesn't present when I open up the form after I've compiled the job. So I'm sure it's something very basic that I'm missing, but I can't spot it and want to know sort of how to troubleshoot that sort of thing.
No problem whatsoever. Okay, well, and it's a good thing asking stuff like this, because we still, even n number of years after launching the templates, we still get new customers all the time, which is good. So for the sake of the recording and for help for yourself and so on, the getting started stuff, we should be revisited every so often, just to help and refresh us. So the first thing you would have, especially from the debugging point of view, is the global extension. So you've got your controls installed, I presume?
Correct.
And what version are you running?
Let me check here just real quick. Uh, 17.3.0.
Okie dokie. Okay, sorry, I'm just making a note of things. Okay, so 17.3.0.
Correct.
Okay, so I'll go with the same. Now, what version of Clarion are we in?
10.0.12.104.
Oh no, 10's fine. Okay, so okay. From 9.1 onwards, you could introduce reg-free-com. You don't have to. It is easier, I'll be honest with you, but you don't have to use that. But in order to use the control, there's 2 or 3 things which have to be met. 2 or 3 requirements have to be met. One is, if you're not using reg-free-com, the control must be registered within Windows. And the other is your license code. For the newer versions of the CodeJot controls, the newer versions, the license control code must be compiled in to be able to even to get it on the screen in the first place. Now, in the older versions, 16.3.1, that type of era, you didn't have to do that. As long as the .lic file was in the same location as the OCX file, this is to do with the CodeJot control, of course, you could happily work that way. So you'll see me use 16.3.1 in a lot of the webinars. The reason I do that is I don't have to, when we're doing changes or an editing, I don't have to put my license code into the product, and obviously for the purpose of recording, reveal my license code. So right. 16.3.1 allowed you to do that. From 17 onwards, they stopped that. Now, of course, with your application, you'd want to compile your license code in going forward anyway. So it's not a bad thing. It's just it made things easier for me, that's all. But are you going to be using reg-free-com? Or are you going to have your application register it, or you install or register the control?
Well, I'd rather use the easiest, simplest method, so I would assume that'd be the reg-free com, correct?
Then let's go with the reg-free com. So we'll do the same.
Okay.
So it wants the location. Go with the active folder, current folder. So I will. Here's the folder there. I'm just going to copy in from my install from the CodeJock folder. There's a few old versions there. Let's scroll down, and you will need the control itself. So we will need the controls.ocx.
So that goes into my development directory?
Wherever the application is, yes.
Okay.
So let's put that in there. Okie dokie. So there's our OCX, and it's the controls 1730. We're going to have to compile a license in. So I shall say compile the license in. Now I'm just going to quickly move that off the screen for obvious reasons. And in that folder should be a .lic. So I'm just going to open that up. Go back to a Clarion.
You can also use that LIC file in your folder too. That'll work.
Yeah, but you wouldn't want, that's bad practice, because you'd never want to ship that folder.
You don't want to ship it, but if you put it into your folder or
your
machine, it'll work without putting your license number in there.
Yeah, 16 up to 16.3.1 that used to work. 17 going.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 17 onwards they stopped it, because that's why I have a load of batch files also there for me for testing, so I can quickly switch different CodeJock versions, which was great. If you didn't, I could just have an app, switch the version, make sure it was registered in Windows, and carry on. And of course the LICs were in the same place as the OCXs, so it worked. But
Right.
17 changed that.
Oh, okay, that's
So,
just good to know.
so basically, I'm not going to reveal, but basically you would have your validation code, and you want the third line out of the LIC. It should look like this, but you'll just be replacing these with something like A, B, C, D, E, F, that type of thing. So I'll just take that out of the way. Okie dokie, so that has my license in there now, and we'll okay on that. So now on here, just to recap, we've gone for use reg-free-com, we've copied it into the folder, and I've compiled the license in, and I've said what the license code is. Now, because we're using reg-free-com, in our folder, just let me bring it into play. We will want two manifest files. There's our normal manifest, and if we have a look at that in its current form, it looks very basic. Now, the templates will regenerate that for you and generate you an extra manifest as well for the control. So there's just one at the moment, and we'll just quickly check that it's not set to compile in, because we want it to generate it afresh. So let's just undo that so we can see it generate. So turn that one off. So we've got generate manifest. I'll recompile the app. Now, without running it, let's have a quick look at our folder, and we will see. Now we've got two manifests. If we go back to our original one, it'll reload, and it's put some extra settings in there for us to say it's going to talk to the Extreme Suite Control 1730. So that's a dependency. And in that folder, it's actually written that for you as well. So if we look at that, and that, not that we have to get our hands dirty with any of that, the template's done it all for you, but the OCX will require that in order to run. So from a shipping point of view, you would need your standard applications manifest, but modified by the template, of course. The manifest generated by the template for the control you're going to use, and the control itself. So we run this. Let's just check it still works, of course. Just let the antivirus do its job. It was a slider we was looking at. So, and there's the sliders. So now, so that will probably be. I mean, that's probably came across quite complicated. It used to be easier before you had reg3com because you didn't have to worry about the two manifest files. So it can catch people out, but basically, although you've got to, from literally the first time, you've got to remember to tick the options and so on and so forth, and remember to ship them. It does make your shipping of your application a lot easier from an admin point of view. They don't have to run it with admin rights or anything like that. So it is the best option to go with, to be honest.
Okay.
So they're the main things. Now, of course, you can, after that, put from a manifest point of view, have it so it's linked back in, but that will only be the Clarion one, not the CodeJox. So I don't see the point personally. If you're going to ship one of the manifests, you might as well just ship both. So now getting the template on the screen, we'll go on to one of the sliders at the moment. Horizontal. We've already got some, but don't do any harm to add a fresh. We go down, because we've got the global extension, it will reveal what you're allowed to add. We're going to go with a slider, draw it on the screen, and maybe we'll have it like so. And then it's really just a matter of the actual options. We can basically set it from a variable if we wanted to. That should be an opt field, or I think we can just type in. So we can say, okay, we'll just put some static values in here for now. So we'll say it's at 25. Oh, it actually does want a no, it does want a field then. Let's forget that. Minimum 1, maximum 100. We'll just step in 5s or 10s. Does need a value, sorry, to write back to, so we'll put that there. I'm not sure we've got that on the screen. Yes, we have. So I will update the field on the screen. And the rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. The particular styles we want are the ticks on both sides. Every 5 will do. And you can put a particular range to it. We'll say, okay, when they get between 75 and 100%. Oh, sorry, no. So that will highlight that particular region. Did I show a compile error then? Oh, that's okay, yeah, that's because I just utilised one of the things what's there. So there's our new slider. There's the last bit which had been highlighted for us.
Okay.
And that's really it. But the points, and again, we'll go into another control just for an example point of view. Just try to think of one. Command bar. Okay, I don't know if you've got command bars, but I'm trying to think of general questions. This is like the getting started. Is there any questions on what we just covered though on that getting started bit? Any concerns? No, Paul, you happy?
I think so, Andy.
Yep. Okay, good. I'm just trying to think then the other things which can catch people out. So I'm just going to add. I'll add a command bar on here. On that, I will just cheat and just use 1631 because it'll just make it easier. That'll do. So theme files, it's worth mentioning these. Here you can see I mentioned some themes are built in. So if I was to choose one which was built in, like Office 2000, it will disable the other options for you because it knows they were never shipped as external theme files. Whereas if I was to choose, say, Office 2010, just to be awkward, say Office 2007, they did have a theme file of where it was built in to the controller itself, or it could be external. So we'll go with Office 2010 and we'll say an external file. That will want us to ship a theme file with it. So let's have a look if we've got it, and there it is. It's part of the CodeJock install. It usually comes under the samples folder, if I remember correctly. Samples and then styles. So there's a particular theme file. Now, inside of that DLL, there are actually a number of different sections, and they split them up via inis. It's all in the CodeJock help, and they call that basically it wants the name of the ini file. So on there we can say blue, I could say black, and so on and so forth. So if you did want to choose a different particular theme section from within the setting within the theme file, that's how you would do it. So now we've got that. The only extra thing I would demonstrate, and again, I'm using command bars, but I know docking panes and some of the others, probably shortcut bar, something like that. Now we've added command bars, we can add it to the screen, but there's two ways of adding it. And if we have a look, unfortunately I can't change the names now. I wish I could, but they're out and they're too far established. So if you look at the help underneath, if I was to click on that one, you can see that's the command bar positioned, and if we click on that one, that's docked. And what the difference is between them two is, if I say positioned, it will take on the shape of the container that I draw. So if I drew a command bar just here, it would, which we can do. Let's draw one there. Okie dokie, there's a command bar, and I'm going to call it positioned. We'll give it some particular properties. Ribbon bar, no, we'll just command bar, just quickly put some stuff on there so we can see. And we'll just put a control on there as well. Put it on the default bar. So basically what I've just done there is added a bar, and then I've gone to the controls and I've said I want to put on a command bar on the default bar, and I'm just going to add a button. We'll call it test button. And all we will do on there is demonstrate maybe the, oh no, I haven't got no help. Close, standard close. A quick compile of that and you'll see that we'll have a positioned command bar on the screen. And these come in handy. I use them for filtering browsers, so like an A to Z down the right hand side of a browse. Okay, so there it is with the black theme, and there's my button, closed. If I was to add the other type of command bar, which was docked, I'll add it anywhere I like really, it doesn't really matter, and I'll just have it so big so it's just out the way, not really taking, not from a design point of view, not really affecting us. Similar type thing. I'm going to have it a command bar interface. Could be any. No, we will. We'll choose ribbon. We'll have a ribbon interface. We'll have a default tab. Got an idea of that. On there we will have a group. Okay. And then I'm just going to add a control to that as well. That can be just a button. This time we're going on to the ribbon bar on the default group. Test button. Standard close. This time we expect to be. Didn't expect that. What have I done? Animation standard. Okay. Just going to change that to a command bar, but I'm not sure why that's actually happening. See if this makes a difference. Because you can have a mixture, like that I do on my screens.
Do the IDs need to be different?
No, because they're not.
So it's a different control, right? So
Yeah, so it should be okay. The only thing I thought is with the name. Maybe I should have given it. In fact, I am going to give them two. Bar 1. Bar 2. Although
You're going to have to delete this whole webinar.
No, well, send to try us. Okay, what I temporarily do, one tip, because this is the whole point when I'm covering tips, is if you was to disable, if you got a load of embed points, which you know you do over time and so on and so forth, if you disable the template, then of course none of the embed points are even generated, which can be a bit OTT because all of a sudden your code looks all orphaned. Of course, when you enable it, it's back again, but that's not the point. You don't want to really be orphaned. So you can, if you've got issues, then we can say, right, disable. That will stop any code whatsoever being generated for that particular control. So we'll just run this, and I'll run the second. We've got our bar across the top, which is what I kind of expected in the first place. If you wanted a similar effect, but you don't want all your embed points to go orphaned, then what you can do is just disable at runtime and give it a condition. So it can be a variable, maybe a global variable. All I do is just cheat and say true. So basically, I want all the embed points. I want the code still being generated, but none of the interactions with the OCX will actually be initialized. So that's just a little tip. So yeah, so well, I'll check why I'm getting that, and I might take a quick look in a minute. But the main point I was trying to make is positioned would take on the shape and size of the position that's the control that's been drawn on the screen, whereas a docked control will take on basically the settings of the window itself, wherever it's been told to dock to. So on our definition, we told it by default to dock to the top, and that's exactly what it's done. So you can draw it as small and insignificant as you want it to be, and it will take on the controls at runtime of that, like your size and so on, that's required. That's the difference between the docked and the positioned, and we use that in quite a few places for the different controls as well.
Thanks. It's more helpful for me right now just to know what to do when things aren't working together. So disabling or setting those values to true really helps me.
Yeah. Well, it came about, just for the example, it's that's set to true now, but if I was to, under that command bar, there should be one there, we'll put some code maybe under the end of create controls, just a comment, end of create. And of course, it's there, and we'd expect it to continue to be there, and so on. Whereas if I was to actually just go and disable it, and then look at the code, did I choose the wrong one? Must have done. Yeah, okay. Disable that one. And then look at the code, and yeah, it comes as orphaned, which wouldn't do any harm. It's just I really don't like things like that. So it's just easier to be able to just tag it as true. Or maybe another option is some users, as you're phasing this in your software, you might want to have the oh, sorry, just 1 second. Someone's trying to get my attention. You might want to have the interface under condition. So you've had whatever menu system in the past, and then all of a sudden you have in the command bars going forward. Some people might want it, some people might not. So then you can put it under condition and have it working off that variable.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to have to find why that isn't working, because I use this every day. So there's something I've not done, but for the life of me, I don't know what it is. Bill, so Paul, does that help? I'm here. Any other things if you need, just ask. Basically, yeah. Give it a
Just the last thing from my perspective is starting out. I've seen you in the webinars jump into the CodeJock controls help to explain some of the parameters and things like that. Is there an easy way to do that, or should I be setting up something in my IDE to reference that?
In the CodeJock installation folder. So let's go here. CodeJock ActiveX particular version, and in the help you've got symbol reference, and that is very good, to be fair. That's it can look a little daunting and so on and so forth, but it's a matter of just following the steps, if you will. So let's say we were going to go with the property grid earlier. So there we go. We've got property grid control. Gives you lots of information. You think, I don't need to know about any of that. I want to know, can I set a particular item to be read only? Okay, so for example, so following it down like a chain, if you will, you go into what members it has, and one of the cut into the methods, the properties, and the events. So depending on how you wanted to tackle it, you'd look at those particular things. So we're going to go with find an item. That's great. That's not a bad point, because we know it's an item we want to go and manipulate. So find an item. Yes, it lets you call it, and you can pass it a particular parameter, but the thing we want is it's going to return you an item, a physical item object. Go on to that, and then you get to basically you imagine a tree. You're now down a level. So now we can say, forget the actual control. What methods and options and so on does that have? We want to know what properties an item has. So you can go onto the item, and then here's the properties. So we're looking down, and I'm thinking I want something like read only. Hey presto, it does have a property. So we can say read only. It's a boolean. So we could do set. We can call a method. I've created you plenty of methods, and you can do set item property. The first parameter is the property. The second parameter is the value of that property. So you could say set item property. The ID. Sorry, the first parameter is your ID of the control, and the second one is the property itself, and the third one is what value you want to. So your first would be particular ID. The second would be read only in single quotes, and the third one would be true or false, depending on if you want it read only, true or false.
Okay.
So that's really the approach I use, and it's served me well for a few years now. So that's on that. Any other questions on it?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem whatsoever. Now, Paul. Hi, Paul. Just opened your mic. You were just saying, is it the duplicate slider? I don't think it is on the example. It's going to annoy me. Oh, a lot of background noise, Paul.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that and wondered if that's what it was. So
No, I wish it was. I'm gonna find it, and that will definitely be on next Monday's webinar to say what I've done wrong. It'll be something and nothing, because, like I say, I use them in my apps where I have that exact setup. I have a command bar docked across the top with all the actions that you can perform. I have your normal Clarion list, or maybe a report control, and down the right I have another positioned command bar, the same height as the actual Clarion list, but with A to Z. So it's a quick filter, so you can say, quickly jump to the patients what are begin with A, or patients that begin with B, and so on and so forth. Makes filtering very efficient, very easy. But yeah, I've missed something. It'll be something silly as well, but I'll find it. Last but not least, on the questions, we've got Bill. Bill was saying he's watching a webinar. He's watching a webinar on the plane on Saturday, and at the end, John showed his dashboard. He's wondering, John, have you done any more work on your dashboard? Question for you.
It was a question for me. No, I guess. I'm trying to think. That I remember I showed it, but I don't know if I showed any of the code behind it.
No, I remember it wasn't on the last webinar. I think it was a couple of webinars ago where you showed.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah. So no, it's no way. But do you have any pointers?
Let me think. From October. Oh my goodness, that's a long time ago. I haven't actually coded anything on the dashboards for a while. I could probably show them, but I mean today we're running out of time. But maybe next webinar I could bring them up if you want, and kind of run through them like I did with the text thing I did last time.
Yeah.
You want to do
Okay.
that?
He said no problem. So yeah, let's do that. I will.
Okay.
I will find what I've done with this. It's going to be a silly error, but it's annoying. But anyway, I shall find what this is and report back next Monday of what it was I'd done. And Bill's just saying it looked. It looked very good in your dashboard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in it. I mean, it's mostly docking panes and pie charts and XAML and all sorts of things thrown there. And then I made a little manager for it so you can say which ones you want to show up on the screen. So yeah, I'll go through that next week.
Cool. Do you know if I could figure out? I think when I covered the flow graph a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, when somebody mentioned it for the mind map application. And although they can have images and so on, one of the items which you can add can be just a handle of another control. So of course I wanted to use a report control, but imagine if you was having it for your dashboard and each one of the different items which would have a handle, be it a list or a graph or whatever. If we could get that handle into it, then you could let the users rearrange their own dashboard. And you just save.
Yeah.
You just call. There's a save layout. Now that'd be pretty good.
Oh, that'd be fun to work
So,
on. Yeah.
honestly, it sounds like I'm talking myself into work here. I should shut up while I'm ahead or I'm behind. But yeah, that'd be pretty good because yeah, something you could let them literally reorganize it to their heart's content. Usually include a restore defaults because they will ultimately ruin things as they normally do. But yes, maybe that's a topic for next week to take a look at.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time today. I should really call time to have a look at the tab equals enter because my daughter's birthday today, so we're going out. So if I'm late for that, I won't be here next week.
No drinking. No drinking.
No. It's school.
Oh.
It's a school night. So besides which, I'm driving. So
That's what.
but yes. Okay. We might as well wrap that up and continue next week if everyone's happy.
Looks good.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Cool. We'll call it a wrap. I'll see you next week. Thanks for attending.
See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.